welcome to In My Mug, episode 321 on Monday the 5th of January 2015. Happy New Year. I am your host, Stephen Layton. Welcome to In My Mug and welcome to the news. So, SSSSS is going out this week. So if you were lucky enough to get a golden ticket and you did the sensible thing and subscribed, be prepared for the first of my secret stash that's coming out to you. So this is the golden ticket that were in the orders, and if you got one, you can order the Steve's Super Secret Stash subscription. And we've got some really interesting coffees lined up that you will only taste if you're a subscriber of that. So pretty big. And Bolivia is here. Right here. Our Bolivians have arrived. David Vilca went live just before Christmas, before we broke up. And today's coffee is Loayza from Feliciano Ramos, a long favourite. Many exciting new coffees to come from Bolivia as well. We've had to do a lot of work there, and there's going to be more about that in the coming weeks. I will be telling you and keeping you, giving you news of what happened in Bolivia. But the Has Been Top 10 is up. Me and Roland sat in this very room last year on the eve of New Year and talked about our favourite coffees of 2014. And made us realise what a great year it was. Some great coffees. You should go watch. The link is go.hasbeen.co.uk/top 10. And if I remember, I'll put it on the screen. So that's go.hasbeen.co.uk/top 10. All one word. TEN, not 10. And that was the news. So we should get to focus on. And focus on this week is going to be looking at the country of Bolivia. So Bolivia is a bit of a pet project of mine, and I know quite a bit about it. So Bolivia is one of the poorest countries in South America. According to the Centre for Economic Research, it shows that 60% of the population live below or in poverty, 37% in extreme poverty, only 80% have access to electricity, 86% have access to running water, and only 50% have access to sewerage system connections. Bolivians are 7.1 times higher at risk of dying in infancy than if they lived in the USA. They use 96% less oil than the US, consume 96% less oil and electricity, and then 90% less oil than the US. They make 90% less money, have 81% more babies, die 11 years sooner, and spend 98% less on healthcare than in the US. I know this because I did a presentation on this on my Tamper Tantrum Asia tour, which I'm going to be setting live really soon. I think if you like Bolivian coffee, it's important to watch. Coffee was the most principal cash crop, and the second most important agronomical after timber. Back in the 80s, and it was also a primary substitute that was offered part of the USAID war on drugs in the 80s, where coffee production reached 13,000 tons, with over 20,000 hectares were devoted to coffee. And they were also a massive consuming nation at the time, which is incredibly rare. Most coffee producing countries don't drink their own stuff, but Bolivia still to this day has a very strong coffee culture. But there's been a steady decline in production. We've seen it really drop. So for instance, if I talk about Brazil Paseo, they produce around about 60,000 bags a year. Bolivia in 2013 exported 25,000, so not even half of what one farm in Brazil exported. Gives you a real idea of how little coffee now is grown in Bolivia, and that was Focus On. So let's get to this week's coffee, which is Finca Loayza. The farm is owned by Feliciano Ramos, who is 45 years old, originally from La Paz. His father was a farmer. He was a potato and barley producer. And Feliciano was always interested in the farming side of what his father did. So when he decided in 2002 to move to Caranavi, he decided that he wanted to have a farm. So he rented a coffee farm for a couple of years, but began to start using the money from that to save to buy his own farm. And after 2 years, he bought Loayza, which is 10 hectares. Now, I call it Loayza, like lots of farms in Bolivia. Farms don't have names, so it's in the municipality. It's like a canton called Loayza. So the farm is Finca Loayza, Feliciano Ramos. And the farm is located on the top of a small mountain towards the Andean spine that we talk about a lot. The farm only had 2 hectares of coffee when he took over, and he's been trying to raise this by planting new coffee, new plant stock, but also by caring for the land and trying to do a better job. Feliciano's married. His wife's name is Tomasa Condori, and they have 5 children who are all at school, and 5 children all at school sounds like a handful. But the family just all dig in. The coffee was the only source of money for the family. There's been a change in that, but basically Feliciano's had to move, but I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But coffee production in Bolivia is really on the decline, and a lot of this is down to coca leaf, which is completely legal to grow in Bolivia, and it's used to chew and makes delicious tea. It's only when it's turned into base and then made into the powder that it becomes illegal. And I'm sure lots of that happens there too. There's Peru is another place where a lot of the coca gets taken to be processed. The coffee, it's a washed coffee. Well, I say washed, it's kind of like a washed. It's not put under water as you would think a traditional washed. It's basically put through a depulper, which removes the mucilage. It's kind of like a dry fermentation, and then goes through the machine again to take off, using the scrubbers to take off the mucilage. It's kind of like a honey pulp natural stroke washed, and I think you can taste lots of that in the cup. It's something that really does stand out. This is getting very common in Bolivia as a way of processing. If you see washed, most of it will have been done this way. It's been a tough year for Feliciano and a tough year for Bolivia. Yields have been massively down. He does have a leaf rust problem, which is just ravaging through Caranavi, and he's had to move the family off the farm, as I was saying earlier, and that's so Feliciano's wife can work. It's the only way that they can make the numbers stack up for them and their family. I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see Feliciano stop growing coffee unless something drastically changes. We have started on a programme this year of giving agronomic advice to producers, and we paid I think it was a 10-cent premium on all of the coffee, but they weren't allowed to have that 10 cents extra. That was put into a fund to pay for an agronomist to go in and give them all advice on how to increase yields and tackle leaf rust, and I think that's a really important thing. It's an amazing coffee. It's one of my all-time favourite Bolivians. I remember that, when Machacamarca wasn't around anymore, this was the one that gave me the cuddle and made me feel better. And it's a delicious coffee, and I cannot wait to get it in here and try it. So we should talk about the numbers. So the farm name is Finca Loayza, and the owner is Feliciano Ramos. He lives in the city of Caranavi in the region of Franja Los Yungas. The farm size is 10 hectares, of which 8 hectares is for coffee growing. It has an altitude of around about 1,600 metres above sea level. It is a mix of 20% Caturra, 40% Cataí and 40% Typica. And it's a washed coffee. There we go. Everything. So I'm going to... Oh, actually, no, I'm not going to whap you on pause just yet, because it's time for the interesting map bit. try not saying the words to that while listening to the music if you've heard the words one. You can't. It's impossible. Well, welcome to the map bit. We are zooming up and we are going across the Atlantic Ocean and we're going to South America and probably my favourite country in South America. We're going to focus down on Bolivia. So let's get down and zoom onto it. Now, we've bought a lot of coffees from Bolivia, not just this year, but every year. My interesting fact is about 3% of Bolivia's land is arable. The rest of it, it's just nothing grows. There's a part of the Delta Plana where bacteria doesn't even live. But we're going down and we're going to go and have a look at Loayza. But what I'm showing you first of all is Caranavi. And just so you get an idea of the topography from Carico to Caranavi, it's such a mountainous, beautiful country. So you're 1,525 metres in Carico and you go up and then you go back down again. It really is just absolutely crazy elevations. But what we're going to do is going to swizzle round. You like my little swizzle rounds. So you see Belinda here, and what I'm going to show you is the distance from Belinda. There's Caranavi, and then if we zoom down just in the distance, in fact you can't quite see it, so let's kind of hopefully zoom across. There we go. Going to zoom across, and there we are to Loayza. So you can see exactly where it is in relation to everywhere else. I mean, just look at those mountain ranges. So that's the Andean mountain range that I harp on about so much, and the Caranavi circle that we buy all this amazing coffee from. So let's just have a whiz round. And then we're going to, what am I doing here? Wow, I'm scrolling around like an idiot. Let's go back down, zoom back round, and you can see that's a mountain and snow. Hey, let's go up. So you can see the circle there. This is the circle of farms that we buy from around Caranavi. It is just an amazing country with amazing coffee and an amazing map bit. Bolivia is great for map bits. It always is great for map bits. So now it is time for Roland Glue's Daft Fact of the Week. Bolivia contains 40% of every creature in the world. It's called biodiversity, don't you know? Wow, Blue's getting all biodiversity. Yeah, 40% of the entire animal population live in Bolivia. It's a beautiful country. One of my favourite places to visit. When I do the talk, when I put the talk up, and I hope you will go and watch the talk because it's something I'm super proud of. Like for me, it looks like space. It's just an amazing place. Right, I'm going to whack you on pause. Going to go and get tasting delicious drinks. Be back with you in just a second. We are back, and I'm going to purposely drink half of this and then leave half of it, and you'll see why, because I know what happens as this cools, and it's a little hot at the moment. So it's all acidity. It's all up front, like cherry, dark cherry, cherry cola sweet, but it's just cherry. And some people that can put them off because, you know, too much acidity can be challenging in espresso, and for me it is a little much, but I like it still. But I'm going to take a sip before I dive into my milk. This is my cup from Telescope. Telescope are in Paris. They are a customer of ours. If you're ever in Paris, they're near the Louvre, and I insist you go see them. Best coffee shop in Paris by a long way. And this was given to me by my good friend Nicholas. Thank you, Nicholas. I know you watch these sometimes. Thank you very much, mate. And what a perfect size for a milk drink, because what you get is coffee. Now the milk just makes it go sweet, just makes it go biscuity and just chocolatey sweet, caramel, with a little hint of cherry. Now I'm going to go back to the espresso, which has been cooling there. And there comes this sweetness. It's two-tone drink. You have it hot and it's like acidity. have it cool. It's like creamy, thick caramel and chocolate. It's just delicious. Really is amazing. I think the mug's trying to tell us something. Now, this is a mixture of the two espressos, so you're getting lots of sweetness with the brewed coffee, but you're still getting the cherry come through, and there's a little of like key lime pie acidity, and I think it's that biscuity and that lime acidity that's all just kind of coming together in that, and it's a delicious coffee. Like, whenever I feel sad that Machacamarca isn't around, I grab a bag of Loayza, and it'd be so bad if Feliciano stops growing coffee. I really don't want him to stop. I understand if he does, because it's hard, and hopefully this advice from the agronomist that they went in to see them just before Christmas. The guy flew in from Costa Rica and he spoke to a number of producers from Bolivia, not just our guys. So the money that we put in paid some of the costs towards it, and all of our guys got invited, but there were other producers that went as well, and I really hope that it can kind of help Bolivian coffee get better. Yeah, with yields dropping, we've just had to pay ridiculous prices for this, and this is not a cheap coffee, and none of our Bolivians will be cheap this year, but worth every penny, I think. Right, time to wrap up. As the mug said, life is definitely too short for bad coffee.